that when a tyrant feels invincible, when a tyrant feels like they have the devices and the tools to be able to penetrate and to be able to create harm in multiple ways, and does not see a pathway to accountability, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling you that they will ensnare themselves in the same way that I mentioned as Zayyat, ensnaring himself. That they will actually be creating the infrastructure and the plan and the plot that will lead to their ruin and their destruction, and that is as much a promise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as anything else that Allah Azza wa Jal has already promised. And subhanAllah, as you're watching the Polish terrorist Benjamin Netanyahu speak with such pride and that snickery and that joy and that glee that we figured something out, and the Mossad is able to build an entire secret drone base in another country without anyone paying attention. As you watch that sense of invincibility, wallahi, this ayah just kept coming to my head. Because how much is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sowing within what they are building of their plot that is beyond their sight, of His makr over their makr, of His plot over their plot. How much is being devised on the inside of what they are devising that they cannot see in a divine sense, that will eventually come to haunt them, that will eventually cause them to be engulfed by their own tyranny. And the scholars talk about this from a historical sense, that Allah Azza wa Jal does not let a tyrant ever ride their plot high for more than a qarn, for more than a century. Some of the scholars mentioned the 60 to 70 years or 100 years. And you think about it, that the plot always comes back to backfire. The two greatest tyrants that the Muslim world knew were the Crusaders and the Mongols. And the Crusaders pillaged Jerusalem with the goal of eliminating the light of Islam once and for all, so that it would never be there again. And I want to say that it is important for you, O Muslims, as you attend Jum'ah, to feel every bit of the weight and the pain of the fact that Masjid al-Aqsa is closed. May Allah Azza wa Jal liberate it. Masjid al-Aqsa has been shut down. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala liberate it. Allahumma ameen. I want that weight to be felt by each and every single one of us. That there is not a single musalli that is being allowed in the first place that the Prophet ﷺ ever faced for salah at this moment. And the arrogance of your oppressor. The Crusaders thought that by pillaging and by destroying and by uprooting every semblance that they could of Islam in Jerusalem, that they would ensure that it never came back. In the process of that, the darkness that they put forth and the historic footprint of that darkness actually backfired, because Salahuddin al-Ayyubi, rahimahullah ta'ala, did not just reconquer Jerusalem, but the light that Salahuddin, rahimahullah, brought back to Jerusalem, the standards that he upheld, the way that he carried himself, the way that he refused to be tainted by their darkness and become dark in the standards that they put forth like them. The way that Salahuddin rahimahullah entered into Jerusalem not only ensured the return of Islam to Jerusalem, but it ensured that we're still talking about it over almost 1,000 years later. They lost the plot. They became a historical blueprint of evil. And Salahuddin rahimahullah ta'ala became the manifest blueprint of good. It was right within 100 years, within a qarn, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala foiled those plans of theirs. And if you were to say to the Crusaders, 50 or 60 or 70 or 77 years in to their oppression, that there was even the slightest chance that that would happen, they would mock you. They'd call you a lunatic. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was carefully plotting as they were plotting. And they would be taken by the same infrastructure that they created, in the same way that the Mongols, it didn't even take 100 years for someone from the offspring, a grandson of Genghis Khan, to actually embrace Islam, which is unheard of. The colonizer embracing the religion of the colonized. And suddenly, these people became students of the same structures that they destroyed. The same structures that they destroyed.